Hello, dear students. I am trying to explain you chapter number 1. It's about the introduction to chemistry. You can see this PowerPoint in the activities that you have for week number 1. Well, what is chemistry and why is it so important? Well, we can say that it's because the chemistry is the science that studies the materials. So new materials are always very important. New new medicines, new energy sources. Right now we are trying to go into clean energy. So it's very important chemistry in order to get this kind of energy. Also, it's important because uh, of the food supplies and the environment protection. Chemistry has a very huge branch into environmental science. Well, you can think about other ones. I'm sure you can because chemistry is everywhere in our daily lives. What are the objectives of this course? Well, one of these is to learn about the principles of chemistry and to learn to become a very problem solver. In chemistry, you are going to solve a lot of problems. So it's very important that you follow the instruction in solving problems in chemistry. The it, as chemistry is a science, we can say that that deals with materials of the universe and the changes that these materials undergo. It means that, for example, you take a piece of metal, well, you begin from the mineral, and the metal is reduced to the metal state and later you mix this metal with other elements in order to get the properties that you need. And also it's important the shape and the different pieces that you can make with this material. The we say always that chemistry is the central science because we have to be with all the other sciences as we study the matter and then that's why all the sciences has to be with chemistry in certain way. And also we need some from branches of the other sciences to explain chemistry. Um, what are the steps in order to solve a problem? Well, first of all, you have to recognize a problem and state it clearly. You begin by making an observation and later you propose possible solutions to the problem or possible explanation for the observation. That's what we call hypothesis. The hypothesis is a possible solution for the problem that you found when you were making observations. And later you had to decide which of the solution is the best or decide whether the explanation proposed is the best in order to solve the problem. That's what we call performing an experiment. It's the only way you can say if your explanation is good or not for the problem that you are studying. Science in general is the framework for gaining and organizing knowledge. In science, we follow procedures for processing and understanding certain types of information. Scientists are always challenging our current belief about science, asking questions and experimenting and gaining new knowledge. And all this is what we call the scientific method. Is the only way, is the method that we use in order to solve problems in sciences. What are the steps in a scientific method? Well, as I told you before, state the problem and collect data. You begin by an observation, and you have some saying some ideas of how to solve the problem by formulating the hypothesis. Later, you perform experiments in order to know if your hypothesis is true or is false. If it is false, you have to redo the hypothesis. But if it is true, then you can make what we call a law. A law is a simple statement that explains a phenomenon. For example, you can say that force is equal to mass times acceleration. That's a law. And it's very simple. It can be a formula. A law can be expressed by a formula. The theory, well, the theory is more complicated. It is a model that can make predictions, and doing experiments, you can modify this theory. And the theory is always, 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 always in movement. And always we have only a partial true about what the word is. We have to continue, or scientists are always doing prediction, doing experiments, and modifying with the new uh, searches the theory. Well, here you have a concept check. Your instructor is holding a balloon and quickly inhales some of the gas inside of the balloon. He then speaks, and his voice changes to a high-pitched sound and sounds quite funny. He then asks you to determine what gas was inside of the balloon. Based on your observations, you conclude that the gas must be helium because uh, helium, when you inhale helium, your voice changes and you sounds a little funny. That's a simple problem, that we can use in order to see how to solve a problem. Based on the scenario, which of the steps of the scientific method is missing from the following situation? Well, to perform experiments. Because you state the problem, you make observation, and you formulate a hypothesis, but you didn't perform experiments. Here we have the three very important concepts. The law. Well, the law summarizes what happens. As I told you before, it can be a formula or a simple statement. Hypothesis is a possible explanation for an observation. Then generally you say, well, if it happened this way, we are supposed to have these results. It's maybe an explanation of what you have seen in your observations, but sometimes it is not true. And the theory or model is an attempt to explain why it happens. And it's a set of tested hypotheses that give an overall explanation of some natural phenomenon. Well, here are some strategies that I recommend you to follow in order to learn chemistry. First of all, learning the vocabulary. As you can see, every science has its own vocabulary, and every word has a meaning in the frame of this science. You must memorize important information. For example, laws. Uh, Everything that surrounds us is matter, and matter cannot be made or uh, or destroyed. You only can change the form of the matter, but no, you cannot create or destroy matter. This is a law. You can memorize that information because in chemistry you will use this law almost always. Also, you have to learn and practice how to solve a problem. I will give you examples, and you must follow the different steps in solving the problem in order that you can solve other problems following these steps. And of course, learning from mistakes as we do in our daily life. And of course, asking questions. And for that is that I recommend you to send me an email every time you don't understand something, and then I can explain you by the email, or maybe you will need a wider explanation, and then we can go by Zoom into a meeting, and I will answer all your questions. Well, that's all for today. I hope that it could be a good explanation to begin studying chemistry.